console interface can either use EIA ketone sequence or hard PTT. Whichever your console supports, the SNV-12 can handle. You can set it up for either console priority or field priority. So the console can override what the field does, or in some systems people want the field to override the console. There's also a mixed mode such that you can have the console have priority, but if the field wants to talk at the same time, for example, a help call, that would in fact be mixed with the console audio. You can either mix it at the same level or mix it down 3 or 6 dB, so it's a lower signal, but it still appears to be heard. This device interfaces to all industry standard console, and there's also a front panel speaker on the device, which in fact allows you to listen to the field communications, the console communications, or both. There are 2 ports on this device which allow for remote monitoring. There's an IP port and an RS-232 port. The IP port supports a browser interface as well as Telnet. That allows you, assuming you have the right authorization and key, allows you to disable and force vote sites. It allows you to view all the switch settings, and it actually gives you logs and reports about which sites have voted or unsquelched in varying time periods. The most recent hour, the last 24 hours, or the last 7 days. That should allow you to do troubleshooting if in fact, due to receivers staying unkeyed or other things like that, or phone lines going down, or getting noisy, that should allow you to troubleshoot some of those issues. The RS-232 port lets you do most of the above, but it's more cumbersome to utilize. Some people like the RS-232, others like the browser interface. Ballpark pricing, the chassis and common modules being the power supply, the console interface module, and the central processing module. That's about $5,000. The plug-in modules to talk to each site or each receiver are about $900 each. Accessories that sometimes people need, there is a pilot tone generator that can be put on the far line, essentially for phone line proving. That takes the audio from the receiver and the COR from the receiver, and on the other side of the PTG10 will give you the output of the audio if it's present, or it gives you that idle tone, that 1950 or 2175 hertz tone. So on the particular signal coming back into the voter, there's either live audio or that idle tone. When the idle tone vanishes, that tells the voter to start voting and pass that information onto the console and or repeat it out over the air. We will now cover the front and rear panel functions of the SNV-12. Starting with the power supply module, this can in fact run off 115 volts, 230 volts, or plus 12 volts DC. There are indications to tell you if the 12 volts on the power converter are good and being fed, an on-off power switch, and AC-DC LED lights on the front. In the console interface module, there's a speaker, a way to adjust the volume, and a way to select whether you want to hear just receive audio communications or receive and the console information. Front panel pot adjustment for voted output and for console input, and LED lights, including a fault light, to tell you when your levels are correct. On the central processing module, this in fact is a CPM3, there's a LAN port on the front. We talked about that a few minutes ago. And also, if in fact you have multi-chassis involved, the master expansion 1 and expansion 2 to let you know what chassis are in fact present. The plug-in modules, the SVM2s, allow you to force select or force disable a site via a 3-position switch. It lets you know from an LED on the front if that is a selected transmitter. Lets you adjust your receive input as well as inject a signal into that for a monitoring standpoint, and tells you what's voted, unsquelched, if it's transmitting, and if there's a fault. So those are all the signals you can and features you have in the front of the voter itself. You get 12 SVM2s you can put in each chassis. On the back, you have a 20-pin terminal block for each of your 12 SVM2s. You have some DB9 and DB15 connections and terminal block connections in order to go to the console as well as to go the RS-232 port. So that covers the front and rear of the SNV-12. Once again, the manual, which is on the Simulcast Solutions website, has further information and detail about the product itself. That has been the model SNV-12 Voter-Comparator from Raytheon. It is a full-featured public safety grade voter and installed in hundreds of installations throughout the country. Thank you.